Cool, so, making this because, like, a while back I was at my friend's and I was, like, talking about awakening stuff and I started, like, having, like, a recorded rant, and that went on for, like, 40 minutes and I managed to get about half of them done. And I made a bunch of silly errors then and I still wanted to complete it, so I'm here now. This is the Fire Emblem Sorter, which is on a Tumblr, and it lets you rate characters from different games. This one's only from Awakening. So then, let's get to it. This should produce a tier list at the end based on what I've said. I'm only going to rate the characters based on what I think of they are as like a unit, not as a character. For example, I don't know. I don't mind Donnel's character, but I don't think he's a very good unit. So, let's begin. So these are both bosses. So they're tied. They're both unplayable, so they're tied. Oh, right, and as far as children units go, the only one I'm going to be rating is Lucina. The only two children characters I consider worth using that could be even possibly rated are Lucina and Morgan, based on since they're children of both Chrom and Robin respectively. You're forced to recruit Lucina, and you can pretty much immediately recruit Morgan straight after that. And since the Robin has perfect availability, it's very easy for you to get Morgan as a child. But I'm not going to be bothered rating Morgan because, like, Morgan's pretty much good as Robin is. Like, there's just a second Robin, really, so... Like, however high up Robin is, which is going to be at the absolute top, that's exactly where Morgan would be anyway. So... Except, like, Morgan has less availability and has a lot more training to do. But he can still, like... Male Morgan can get Soul and be a Nosferatu tank. Male Morgan could get Gale Force through inheritance based on how slow you play. Female Morgan could get Gale Force. All kinds of good stuff. So, that's Laurent and that's Noir. They're both children units, so they're tied. They're both children units, so they're tied. Both children units. Both children units, even though Morgan would be at the top. Okay, so Priam is a DLC character. Sort of, he's downloadable content. Flavia's not, so I'm going to rate Flavia higher. Alright, Sayri versus Basilio. Now that's an interesting that's an interesting opposition. So Sayri joins a lot earlier, in a class that has competition with Lon'qu and maybe Gaius at that point, if you reclass Gaius. I'm not sure when the first second seal comes in, but I think it's before Sayri. Versus Basilio comes way later. He has a solid basis, rally strength. And if you haven't been training, Vaike is a good replacement for a good Axe Fighter on your team. I would say, I feel like Sayri is probably the better unit. But Basilio comes in with good ranks and rally strength. So I'd probably pick Basilio. Okay, I'm going to pick Sayri in this case. Okay, so Cherche versus Henry. That's another interesting one. They both join after the first arc, just as the Valm arc is starting. They're both pretty much supposed to promote them. Henry's got the way better class. Cherche's got slightly better stats, but her speed is still kind of lacking. Neither of them very stand out that much to me. I would say, if I had to pick one, Henry would be the better one. Alright. Tharja versus Anna. Oh, that's another tough one. So Anna comes with the benefit of can immediately use the Levin Sword, almost as well as Robin could if he stays Grandmaster, and Anna gets stave access, whereas Tharja requires some training but joins earlier, is in a very good class overall, and eventually is possibly one of the strongest DPS units in the game. Just purely because, well, not DPS, just one of the strongest units in general in the game, because Nosferatu tanking means you can't die. I would say... I would say Tharja's the better one, but Anna's still really good. Alright, Gregor versus Nowi. I gave Nowi a pretty bad rap, but Nowi can actually be pretty decent. It's got 1-2 range with Dragon Stones. It's surprisingly tanky, but pretty slow. Gregor is very decent overall. You can pretty much instantly promote him, and he'll be good for when he is, but he'll fall off later. So I would say... But the problem is, though, is that Gregor is another sword unit. At this point, you have, like... Chrom, Lon'qu, Gaius, and Cavs and Robin, you have more than enough good sword users on your team. And he doesn't come promoted yet. You have to promote him on the map. Versus Nowi has a unique niche. And is very tanky, so I'd probably pick Nowi for this combination. Alright, Gaius versus Panne. This one is a no-brainer. Panne is much better than Gaius. Not great in her base class, but she can reclass into a Wyvern Knight and then she's amazing. Alright, Lon'qu versus Ricken. Lon'qu wins this one. Sumia versus Kellam. That's easy, Sumia. Alright, Stahl versus Vaike. Now, I gave Vaike a very hard time. For no reason. Vaike's surprisingly got very good offensive stats and is the only axe user very early on in the game, aside from Frederick, if you count Frederick. And even then, I can't remember what Frederick's axe rank is, but I don't think it's any higher than C, so Vaike is still very good. If I had to... So Stahl faces competition from Sully, who joins a little earlier and is better gross overall, and Vaike is fairly unique. He does join later. He joins on the same map as Stahl, but later, and he has to have his axe traded to him through Miriel, so he can't contribute immediately on turn 1. Oh, this is really... I'm not sure. I'm going to pick... No, I think Stahl's still better, because he's got sword and lance access. Alright, this one's a no-brainer. Frederick is just really, really good. Chrom versus Lissa. Chrom has got really good base stats. Alright. Tiki versus Robin. Alright, they're both enemies. Both NPCs, children units. Oh, Lucina versus Flavia. Okay, I'm gonna say... Lucina starts off with some good skills and base stats and joins a lot earlier. Alright, Henry versus Sayri. So, Henry has the better class. Sayri joins only a little bit later than Henry, promoted with really good stats. I would say just because Henry faces competition from Tharja and Robin, and even maybe Morgan, who will all be thinking about Nosferatu tanking, and his stats aren't quite as good as theirs, versus Sayri, who does have competition in Lon'qu and Gaius, but she is generally... She's a very good unit for how much you don't have to train her, so I'd probably pick Sayri. Henry versus Basilio. Henry joins earlier. Cherche's got flying. Axe user. They're both axe users. Cherche, I would say. Alright, Tharja versus Olivia. I would say... Olivia's use as a dancer in this game is a little bit lower than most games which have dancers. Just because Awakening is so hugely enemy phase focused. And it's very hard to protect Olivia. Versus Tharja actually deals with those two problems very, very well due to being a Nosferatu tank. You can still do impressive stuff with Olivia, but I still think Tharja's just the better unit overall. This one, I still think Anna's very, very good. But Olivia just provides that extra utility. Alright, Libra versus Nowi. I think Libra is way better. First pre-promote in the game. Good axe usage. Lets you use, like, rescue. Just good stats overall. I feel like Libra is very, very underrated. And Nowi, just with some work, can be, like, decent, but is just isn't as good. Alright, Cordelia versus Panne. As much as it pains me, I think Panne is better. Gaius versus Cordelia. Cordelia's in a better class, but joins a little bit later, but only one chapter later, so I'm going to say Cordelia is better. Alright, Maribelle versus Lon'qu. I think Lon'qu's better. Ricken versus Maribelle. Maribelle's got healing. Got horse mount. Ricken... I feel like Ricken is also a little bit underrated, but he comes in between Miriel and Tharja, and it feels a little awkward to justify using him, and he's not even that good on the map you get him on. Versus Maribelle will probably be... Because as much as Troubadours are good, it's very easy to overextend yourself in Awakening, and have your weaker units killed, because the enemy stat inflation gets crazy. I'm still going to say Maribelle's better, because Ricken feels a little bit redundant. Alright, this one's easy, Sumia wins. Ooh, I say since Kellam isn't a pain in the ass to recruit and comes with decent pair-up stats, I'd say Kellam's better. Miriel versus Stahl, I think Miriel's probably one of the better ones. Alright, Frederick versus Virion. This is like the most imbalanced matchup ever. Frederick is way better, Sully's way better. Robin versus Chrom, Robin's better. Tiki versus Chrom, Chrom joins earlier. And he eventually gets the full-powered Falchion. Tiki versus Lissa. Lissa joins second chapter, healer. Tiki, you might not need Tiki on your team. I never really felt like Tiki was ever that necessary to even play her paralog and get her. So I'm gonna say Lissa's better here. Alright, these two tied. Children. Ooh, okay, so similar to a Henry situation as before, you get Lucina, the same map as Henry, and it's just like 1 or 2 chapters before Sayri. Lucina's definitely the better character overall. They're both sword users. With training, Lucina's the better one with training. Sayri has better base stats. I'm gonna say Lucina is better just because if Robin is her mother, Lucina's better, and in most cases Robin will be Lucina's mother. But if not, then Sayri's better. So I'm gonna say Lucina if you're playing somewhat efficiently. Alright, Sayri versus Flavia. I feel like see, Flavia is like a pretty good unit, but she's still. I still think Sayri is a little bit better. Alright, Henry versus Flavia. I think Henry's better. I think Cherche is better. Oh, this is a tough one. So Basilio has better utility and will hit harder, but Flavia is a little bit tankier if I remember correctly, especially with Soul. It hits it better, doubles usually more, I think. I'm gonna say Flavia's the better one. Okay, Libra versus Tharja. I think Tharja's the better one out of the two. Libra won't scale that well, it just becomes a rescue bot, and Tharja will. I think Olivia's better. I think Anna's better. Alright, I think Panne's better than Lon'qu. I'm gonna say, so Lon'qu can be pretty decent long term, but I still think Cordelia, her good strength growth means that she'll just become very, very good in the end. Oh, this is a tough one. I'm gonna say Cordelia because Lon'qu can be strength screwed. Alright, so something of interest is that Gaius. So Lon'qu joins for the beginning of the chapter. You've got to save Ricken and Maribelle, and then the chapter after that one, about halfway through, is when you get Gaius and Panne. So Lon'qu is available for a chapter and a bit more than Gaius, and they have almost the exact same base stats. Gaius actually has slightly better ones, and they almost have the exact same growth. So it's almost indistinguishable. The difference is that Gaius starts as a thief, and he has lock touch, and you'd have to reclass him later on to make him into a sword master, which is slightly better. It has slightly better skills for offensively geared overall. So I would say Lon'qu is probably better overall. If you wanted to put training into Gaius, he could be better. So it's really tough. I'm gonna say Lon'qu, but only slightly. Maribelle versus Gaius, I think Gaius is better. Sumia versus Miriel, I think Sumia's better. Kellam versus Miriel, Miriel's a lot better. Stahl versus Kellam, Stahl's a lot better. Virion versus Vaike versus Kellam, Vaike is a lot better. Robin, Frederick. Alright. I haven't really talked much about Sully yet. I think Sully is probably the... in my most recent run I used Sully, and she turned out to be a little disappointing long term, and Chrom turned out to be very, very strong long term, surprisingly. He's got very good bases and very good growths, some like higher than average for an awakening character. And Sully is just very middle of the road, but she's very reliable. has better weapon access early on than Chrom, who'll be stuck to the original falchion, which is kind of shit later on. So I'm going to say Sully's a little bit better. Alright, Chrom's a lot better than Virion. Lissa's better, Tiki's better. They're both tied. Say Lucina's better, Sayri's better, Robin, yep. Alright, Panne versus Tharja, okay. So I do feel like they both become powerhouses later into the game. Tharja... the difference is that Panne has more movement and has access to like things like the hammer, which allows her to make specific takedowns on the map. Versus whereas Nosferatu tanking is you just kind of you pick Nosferatu, you get a good pair up for defense or extra magic or whatever you want, and just sit somewhere parked down there and just wait for enemies to funnel in to kill you. So they sort of serve different purposes. I would say overall that targeted Wyvern right is better than as Panne. Like Panne is just better overall. So I say Nosferatu tanking is better. Okay, I would say Olivia... I still think Cordelia is a little bit better. I think Olivia's better than Lon'qu. Alright, this one's a tough one again, so... I'm gonna say Anna's a little bit better. Alright, I think Libra's better. I think Lon'qu's better. I think Gaius is better. Maribelle's better. Okay, because Nowi brings something that's a lot of tankiness that Ricken doesn't, so I'm gonna say... Gregor's better, Robin's better, Frederick's better. I think Sumia's better than Sully. I think Miriel's better than Sully. I think Sully's better than Stahl. I think Chrom's better than Stahl. I think Stahl's better than Lissa. I think Vaike's better than Lissa. Okay, I still think Tiki is better than Kellam, and I think Kellam is a lot better than Virion. Okay. Donnel is definitely... they're both... So those last three are definitely the absolute bottom of Awakening's barrel. I would definitely say that Donnel is, even for his faults, his later join time, and how completely awful he is early on, I still think he's a little bit better than Virion. Alright, Lucina, yep. Sayri, yep. Yep. They're tied. Alright, Robin versus Panne. Robin's better. Frederick versus Panne. Now this is alright. Okay. So Frederick joins earlier. He's the Jagan, obviously. He is really strong early on. He pretty much carries the team on hard difficulties. Versus Panne. Really needs that reclass. But once she does, she is absolutely takes off. Versus Frederick, who will fall off. Panne will pretty much become your best not a Nosferatu / Robin character in the game. I would still say, considering how vital Frederick is to early on versus how there are a lot of units later on that can pick up the slack, I would say Frederick is still really important. I'm going to say Panne is better than Sumia. I think Sumia is better than Tharja. Tharja's better than Miriel. Say, Miriel's better than Cordelia. Cordelia's better than Sully. Olivia's better than Sully. Sully's better than Anna. Anna's better than Chrom. Chrom's better than Libra. Libra's better than Stahl. Stahl's better than Lon'qu. Okay. Lon'qu's better than Vaike, in my opinion. Gaius is better than Vaike. Oh, okay. This is a tough one because, like, when Libra joins, Libra is your second early-ish game axe user, and is also your most prominent staff user at the same time. Obviously can't do both, but I'd say, because you want to use Libra on the front lines for action, I would say he more invalidates Vaike than Maribelle, so I'm going to say Maribelle's better. I think Vaike is better than Nowi, Lissa's better than Nowi, Nowi's better than Tiki, Gregor's better than Tiki. I still think, even though Ricken kind of struggles to find an identity in the army, I still think he is slightly... can carve out a bit more of a niche than Tiki. Although Tiki is like... okay, I still think Tiki's a little bit better. Alright, Ricken is definitely better than Kellam. Right, Robin's better than Lucina. Frederick's better than Lucina. Panne's better than Lucina. Sumia's better. This one's a little bit tough, but I think Tharja's a little bit better. I think Lucina's a little bit better than Miriel. Cordelia, Sayuri, I think. Cordelia's a little bit better. Olivia versus Sayuri, I think Olivia's a little bit better. I think Sully's better. I think Anna's better. I think Chrom's better. Libra's better. I don't know how Stahl got this high up. I think Sayuri's better than Stahl. I still think Stahl's better than Henry. I think Lon'qu's better than Henry. Gaius better than Henry. I still think Maribelle's better. I think Vaike is better. I think Lissa's better. I think Henry's better than Cherche. I think Cherche's better. Sorry, than Nowi. I think Cherche's better than Nowi. I think Flavia is better. No, but Nowi joins way earlier. Alright. I think Flavia's better. I think Basilio's better. Better than Priam. Yep. Okay, and we are dunsies. Alright, so my tier list according to how good the units I think they are. So number 1, Robin. That one's pretty obvious. So Robin, and also Morgan. Even though Morgan takes a little bit more effort than Robin does. Alright, so number 2, Frederick. That makes sense. Frederick, get available from extremely early on. He does fall off later on in the game, but he's just too good. And even then, when he falls off, you can just use him for good pair-ups. So number 3, Panne. I'm not sure if she should have been that high up, but it is what it is. So Panne, she starts out kind of not so great, but once you reclass her, she'll pick up skills pretty fast. She gets lots and lots of good level ups because her, like, since her class is kind of bad, her like average growths are really, really high. So she'll just end up becoming, if you reclass her to a Wyvern Knight, she'll end up becoming like absolutely amazing. The only thing she'll struggle with is resistance, but like that's just whatever. Alright, so number 4, Sumia. Yep. Right. Okay, so number 4, Sumia. So Sumia is available from pretty early on. Her strength isn't so good, but by then you've got pair-ups to help try and fix that. There are definitely a lot of good people for her to pair up with. I usually pair her up with Kellam to give her the extra defense. And with the speed, she'll be able to like generally fight people decently early on. So number 5, Tharja, maybe a little bit too high up, but like you really can't stress how absolutely broken Nosferatu tanking is in Awakening. And Tharja just starts as a Dark Mage. She's got good growths in everything except for skill, and her, like, the class skills of Dark Mage help compensate for bad skill. So she's almost got, like, she just grows into a really, really strong unit. Lucina, yeah, so that's kind of assuming that Robin's going to be her mother. She is just absolutely really, really good. She joins with a stronger version of Chrom's falchion, and even though it doesn't get blessed at the end like his does, it's just strong enough to carry you through the Valmark, which I usually find is the hardest third of the game, the middle one. And she's just, yeah, especially when you come against fighting Wallheart with a trained Lucina, it's just a lot better. So number 7, we've got Miriel. So Miriel's not somebody I usually end up using that much, but I've heard really good things with her. She has got very good growth rate. She joins way earlier than the other mages. And is pretty good overall. So 8, Cordelia. Maybe a little bit high as well, but she basically does the same thing Sumia does. Her growths are a little bit less. So Sumia has the better magic growth by a little bit, and if I remember correctly, she has slightly better skill, although Cordelia's still got pretty good skill. She's got good offensive stats overall and slightly better defense, but still not great. Cordelia would basically be a stronger Falcon Knight if trained, but she joins later than Sumia does, and makes a worse Dark Flyer than Sumia does if you're going for Gale Force. Alright, so number 9, Olivia. Kind of makes sense that she's higher up. She's a dancer. Dancers are very good, no matter what game they're in, allowing you to make another move with a really strong unit. I feel like Olivia isn't as like I said before, as a dancer, Olivia's not as great in Awakening as other dancers are in general, but still pretty good. So number 10, Sully. Available from the 2nd, 3rd-ish chapter. Cavalry, very good growth overall. The one I used was kind of lame, but I think I got RNG screwed a little bit with her. But overall, Sully will be very decent. It makes a decent replacement mother for Lucina if you're marrying off Robin to somebody else or you had a male Robin. Alright, so number 11, Anna. Very, very good bases overall, like very, very good. Her base class Trickster lets her use swords, so she gets 11 swords, and she can use staves, so she can rescue staff, and she also got staff utility on the battlefield, very, very good. Anna's just so amazingly solid overall, and you don't have to do that much training. You don't have to do anything to get her as strong as she joins, so it's hard not to rate her that high. Alright, so number 12, Chrom. Chrom, who I was convinced really sucked for a long time. Chrom is actually very, very good. His bases are very good. His growths are very good. He is foot-locked and sword-locked as a lord, but he will get lances upon promotion, which gives him some ranged access. I can't remember if javelins are E rank in Awakening. I don't think they are, but he still gets lance access, which is slightly nice. And very good skills in the Lord class overall, which is also part of the reason why Lucina's so good. I always recommend training Chrom a little bit, just to pass on good stats to Lucina at the very least, and he's very helpful later on. Trained Chrom with the upgraded Falchion at the end of the game basically means he can be pretty unstoppable. So, not the best character in the game by any means, but definitely a stronger one if put time into. So number 13 is Libra. Libra is very often overlooked by people. Libra is pretty good, in my opinion. Pre-promote, joins at a good time. Balance. In a game where enemy stats get very, very high, it can be very nice to have somebody able to keep up with the units that won't die immediately, like Lissa and Maribelle would. His combat isn't great later on though, but he does make a decent axe user for early on. And yeah, he's just he enables a very efficient playstyle due to his good magic base and rescue scarf range. So number 14, Sayri. Sayri, again, similar to Libra, pre-promoted, joins at a good time for a pre-promoter to join in. Makes a good replacement for Lon'qu and Gaius, who haven't rated that high up in this list. Awakening has a lot of sword users, so it's very hard for them to all stand out. And when Sayri joins with good bases overall and decent growths, joining with like not needing to be trained is very important when you could be focusing on your flyers or Robin or Lucina and Morgan. There are just like so many good units in Awakening. It's hard for the like units that are good but not that amazing for them to stand out. So Sayri, who joins, yeah, Sayri is just very good. So number 15, Stahl. Stahl gets some of the benefits that I gave to Sully. So he's got cavalry. He's got good growth, but he doesn't end up amazing necessarily. He does join later. He is the more defensive of the two, and he gets better strength overall compared to Sully's better skill and speed. He also has a higher lance rank, if I remember correctly, versus Sully having better sword. Or is it no, it's the other way around, I think. Stahl has a better sword rank. Yeah, Stahl, he's okay. I think he's pretty decent. He gets high props for being a cavalry class. Yeah, he's just kind of outshone by Sully and Frederick, who are already available. So I'm not sure what to say. Stahl's just kind of dead average, as usual. Alright, so just after Stahl is Lon'qu. I think Lon'qu maybe could have been a little bit higher up. I got kind of tunnel vision on the fact that he and Gaius feel very similar. But yeah, Lon'qu joins. He starts out very, very decent. His strength growth is a little low for an Awakening character, so he can feel like he's not doing a lot of damage later on in the game if you don't get lucky. But you can fix it up with pair-ups. He does have a support with Vaike, if I remember correctly. Or somebody that passes on a good strength modifier. So yeah, I think Lon'qu is pretty decent. He gets amazing speed and avoid. He is slightly better than Gaius, who needs to reclass. Alright, speaking of which, next one's Gaius. I feel like Gaius might have also been a little bit too higher up. He does become as good as Lon'qu. They're pretty much indistinguishable once you can reclass them, but the problem is getting to that point where you can reclass, which is, at the very minimum, you can get a second seal in the chapter you recruit Nowi and Gregor, which is 2 chapters after you recruit Gaius and 3 after you recruit Lon'qu. So it's not an incredibly long time after those, but long enough maybe. So yeah, they're almost indistinguishable. Gaius does get lock touch, which could be useful, but so does Anna. And there aren't that many chests to loot in Awakening. Alright, so number 18, Maribelle. Yeah, she's very good overall. She's got healing, but a lot of... In a game where a lot of characters are trying to Nosferatu tank, and they've got good healing already, you don't really need that many healers later on to the game. And Maribelle also has to put herself in danger if she's trying to get people to be healed. So it's sort of the same thing I've got with Lissa later on. I do think she's slightly higher due to starting as a troubadour, and she doesn't really face any kind of issues with enemies coming after her until later on in the game. So number 19, Vaike. Vaike's got good growths. He starts out kind of in a shaky place, but he is unique as an axe user. I feel like, depending on your opinion, he could be further down the list or further up the list. I feel like in the middle is pretty decent. Alright, Lissa, same thing as Maribelle, except she has got even less movement. But she is available from earlier on, and yeah. I think her contributions are pretty decent. Maybe there's a little bit higher up the list, but honestly, like later on in the game, there's no warp stuff in Awakening. There are rescue staffs, but you've got so many options for that. If you've got Cordelia and or Sumia in Falcon Knight, they can rescue warp. They can rescue bot people. Libra can. He starts out with decent enough magic, and you can fight on the front lines with them. So yeah, it just feels like a lot of healers in Awakening have their value brought down. Henry, pretty decent overall. I feel like Cherche should have been a little higher than Henry, but whatever. Henry he's got a good class. His growths are kind of not that great, and he joins slightly underwhelmingly. At the same time, you get Lucina, and by the time Tharja should be picking up some speed. So yeah, Henry's pretty good overall. I feel like we're at the point of Awakening where the units are decent, and they're not like there's nothing particularly wrong with them. All right, Cherche. She joins. I feel like if Cherche had higher in any one of her stats, she could be much higher up this list. As it is, she joins with pretty good strength, good defenses, but not good enough on the map that she joins in to, like, not be, like... If you get swarmed, you'll be killed as Cherche. You need to, like, early promote her if you want to get away from that. She does have axes and wyvern axes immediately, which is very good. But yeah, you need some. I just feel like Cherche just needs something to be a slightly better unit. Alright, so Nowi. Mainly her speed. Everything else about Nowi is really, really good. Her bases seem kind of low, but with the Dragonstone, they're very, very high. And she's got really, really high growth. Nowi will eventually become incredibly tanky. But her speed is not very good. And again, Nosferatu tanking just breaks this game in half. Like, a tanky unit like Nowi can't shine out because she doesn't join early enough, and it will later on in the game be like that kind of tankiness will be replaced by units that can either move way more efficiently, like Sumia and Cordelia and Panne, or units that can be really, really tanky and fight a lot of enemies all at once, like Tharja and Robin and Morgan, even Henry maybe. Alright, so Flavia and Basilio are pretty high up on this list because despite joining later on as pre-promotes, they actually got very, very good stats. I feel like Basilio maybe should have been a little bit higher. Flavia is a better combat unit than Basilio, but Basilio joins with rally strength, which is really, really nice. And he's also got very high bow rank, and even though I don't feel like bows are very amazing in Awakening, he's one of the only people in a base class that can use bows, so... Basilio has some niche there. So I feel like I kind of rated them both at the same time. But yeah, Flavia, better combat unit. But in a game dominated by really good combat units, I'm not sure how good Flavia would be. Like, I'm not sure if Flavia should be higher rated than Basilio, who has some unique niche to him. Okay, so Gregor. Gregor can be pretty decent if you can promote him early. But again, like I said, so many sword units. Like, Gregor doesn't really feel like that special. Tiki can be pretty strong on her own, but I just feel like she's just not quite, like... Again, she's kind of the same deal as Nowi. I think she, if I remember correctly, she's got like slightly better luck. But yeah, like, a trained Nowi will be better than Tiki, and at that point in the game, with their high growths, you should have a team full of characters that are surpass Tiki at that point. I don't feel like Tiki's really anything that special. So yeah, Ricken has. I feel like Ricken is the very last of the units that are decent at the very least. I actually kind of like using Ricken, but he is very, very badly outclassed by the myriad of also very good tome. Like, Awakening has a lot of good sword users. Well, it has a lot of sword users in general, regardless of whether they're good or not. But also has a lot of tome users as well. You've got Robin, Miriel, Tharja. You can reclass Anna if you want. And Dark Flyers will, like Sumia, would have tome axes as well. So Ricken doesn't really bring anything unique or special. Promotion to Sage gets some staff access, but you have staff access like across the board as well. You've got it from Falcon Knight as well. So like no matter what class, no matter what kind of thing Ricken tries to specialize in, he won't be that amazing overall. But I feel like Ricken is okay. All right. So the last three in the game, and they are unequivocally the worst. Kellam. Kellam is an Armor Knight. That should be enough, but Kellam, I feel like, is the better of these three. I haven't talked very much about pair-ups and pair-up bonuses, but that's really what Kellam all really does. He brings the first Javelin in the game, which is nice. He got very, very high base defense, so you can just in the earlier chapters he comes in, like the first three, you can just throw him into enemies and he won't die. I feel like that kind of stops in that map with the Wyvern Knights, with Ricken and Maribelle. He can be a little bit vulnerable there on harder difficulties. But other than that, Kellam is just kind of, for those that map he joins the map after, Kellam is just tank people. And he makes a good pair up for Sumia, so... Yeah. Donnel. Oh boy, so Donnel, he obviously becomes amazing with time because of aptitude, but... well, first of all, he uses lances, and I think Donnel's best. His class access isn't very good either. When you promote him, You can turn him in. I think his best option is probably Hero, which is with his amazingly high stats. He'll be constantly proccing. With Patience, he'll be constantly getting very, very good avoid and hit and dodge. I think can't quite remember how Patience works, but it gives you a lot of good stats. And with Donnel's very, very good base stats because of his level ups, he'll just overall perform very, very well as a hero, especially getting lots of soul procs. But he doesn't have amazing class X's overall. He doesn't have Dark Mage, and he can't really transfer his Lance rank into Mercenary and Hero, so you have to start again at E Swords, which is, oh yeah, another sword user. Cool. So Donnel, I feel like Donnel, it's pretty common knowledge now that Donnel is pretty kind of bad. With a lot of training, he becomes very, very good, but overall not really. And then Virion at the bottom, try and keep this brief, but Virion, not very good. 5 base speed, not very good. Archer in a game which is hugely enemy phase focused, also not very, very good. I don't, like, Virion, he's got very high skill growth, and that's all I really remember about Virion. Not very, very good overall. So yeah, that's the Awakening list. That took a little bit longer than I thought it was going to take. But yeah, overall I kind of agree with this list. I'm sure there are a lot of people who probably don't. But yeah, cool.